some people are floating Kansas out as a potential championship weekend race. Do you think that would work, or do you think that when you consider the schedule being the first week in November and the location of the racetrack, maybe the weather wouldn't be so cooperative there? What's your take on that?
That's still a pass for me. I've never been to Kansas Speedway, but I do know what weather patterns are, and it's the same reason we can't go to Pocono in February. The same reason we can't go any of those places on those odd times of year. It's because the weather is pretty atrocious for trying to do sporting events outdoors. Just ask the Kansas City Chiefs. I would much rather get away. I would much rather get away from Phoenix, but I don't think Kansas is the place to do it. But what's the answer to that? I don't know. One day they'll move from Phoenix eventually. Where they go, it's really just up to where the money is and where they think it's most profitable. Kansas is putting on some really good races, but the trend just is always moving, isn't it? Like we always, as soon as we see some positive momentum somewhere, we say, "Oh, have all the races there. Let's have the championship there." Like we've lived long enough to see these patterns come and go, and I'm just not gonna try not to fall for it anymore. Like if a track sucks for a few years, have some patience, because in 5 more years it's going to be the bee's knees, and we're going to enjoy the heck out of it. I'm looking forward to the day when we can enjoy short tracks again. It's coming, but then one of the other types of tracks is going to suffer. That's just the way it goes.
Think about the fall 2020 Kansas reaction and what we've got now. That's exactly your point, Brandon. 4 or 5 years. That's
guilty. I was one of those. Yep. I mean, we all were. I mean,
Go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, you said enjoy it, or they turn into a short track. Auto Club Speedway. I just had to throw that in there. Well, speaking of fall 2020 at Kansas Speedway, I remember being there in the press box and sitting like near the glass and like even a row up from the glass, and it was freezing cold. It can get really cold there. We should absolutely not have the championship race there. Attendance would not do well. The whole element of that would not do well. It's too bad, because I think Kansas would be a great championship race, but there's Charlotte out there that usually gets pretty solid weather around late October, early November. Of course we have Homestead that everybody's always clamoring for the championship race again. Those are 2 great tracks. And even if NASCAR maybe want to work out a deal with SMI, where, this is kind of speculating, throwing things out there, fantasy, whatever, rotate the championship race between like a Las Vegas and a Homestead, where they swap it back and forth, something like that. But yeah, Kansas, you saw me move a little bit when you brought up that proposition. That was me remembering shivers from that race.
Yeah, and then you factor it would be even about a month later, if you put it at that point in the schedule of the finale. So, or I guess the alternative would be you shorten the season a little bit, and maybe you could have an October finale then, but I don't think that's necessarily in the cards either. Adam has sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
Sorry, it says something. I think back to NASCAR Racing 2002 season or something like that. It says something whenever the main weather setting for Kansas Speedway is overcast.
Yeah,
I think I remember that being the case.
Yeah, well, Adam has a popular solution here. Just go back to Homestead. I know that was a popular finale track, and certainly now with how well the next gen seems to race a 1.5 miles, I'm sure it would be popular again. Joe Samiego says he would want to see the All-Star race at Kansas, and then Adam responding, asking over North Wilkesboro. But I think this would be the counter to that, and I am in agreement with Joe here. North Wilkesboro, I'd like to see become a points race. I think certainly we'll see how the All-Star race does again this year, but the momentum based on the first year, I think, is there. And then, if that continues to hold, I see no reason why it couldn't be a points race myself.
Yeah, I think I need to accept the fact that Kansas isn't a little kid anymore. It's been around since 2001. He's a big boy now. He can do all-star races. That's my problem. I still have Kansas and Chicagoland around the same time. I still have them in my head as baby tracks that don't need to have legacy events or are not capable of it or whatever. But I need to get that out of my head.
Yeah, well, it is remarkable, because you hear something like 2001, 2002, and you think, oh, it doesn't seem like it's that long ago. That was over 2 decades ago at this point. So
Yeah, thanks.
they
Yeah.
certainly they've been around long enough. I think that maybe it's worth considering.